Right guys, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about BMW and oil changes. Because there's still a lot of people today who either don't know what oil to use, don't know what to actually believe, and don't know when to actually change the oil or how to know when to change the oil and what oil to actually use when their oil change actually comes due for being changed. And that's purely because a lot of people end up just buying BMWs now and just going by whatever they're told or whatever they see on the car. So let's get on to the video. I'm going to talk more about what people are doing wrong and what they should be doing right. And I'm going to run through all the different BMW engines. And all of you need to listen to this very, very carefully, purely because there's so many of you that keep questioning me about this same subject every day about what is right and what is wrong. The amount of comments I get regarding this simple issue is absolutely unbelievable. So let's get on to this video. So I want to talk about the BMW engines in particular. This relates to the BMW engines. Now, the first one I get asked all the time is what oil to use. Now, I don't get to respond to every single comment that people make purely because I've done videos on this all the time relating to this engine. Now, I'm sorry if I haven't made it clear what oil you can use on other engines. So today I'm going to make this very clear so many people get the right oil for their cars and stop destroying their engine because they're using whatever they want and then these guys are having to rebuild their engines. And I'm not joking. The amount of people that are coming to me saying to me, they put this oil in, they shouldn't have listened, or the mechanics use this oil and now their engine has gone bang. And now the oil I'm talking about is this one. You'll see here, this is a 10W60 oil. But many people seem to believe when they have an issue with their BMW engines or they're burning oil, their mechanics will tell them to go to a heavyweight oil to stop it burning oil. What a lot of people don't understand is these engines are not designed to run on 10W60. But you get a lot of people who have the diesel engines as well that will try and run 10W60 on their diesel engine. So the first thing is, this oil will not only destroy your turbo on a diesel, it won't come up to temperature quick enough, it won't become thin enough for the bearings and everything else on the engine. Therefore, you're destroying your engines. Then you have people using this in the N54 engine with the turbos. Then they wonder why their engines go bang. Because they think, because they're trying to make their car into something it's not, which is a race car, they believe by using 10W60, which you can see here, this is racing oil, which the V10s take, the M3 take, everything takes this, even my Porsche uses this, but they're high revving sport engines and they run very, very hot. That's why they're okay to use this. Many people seem to believe they can just throw this in any car and it's going to be fine. Not just this, some people run 10W50, some people run 10W40. You are not meant to run any kind of 10W40, 10W50, 10W60 in any BMW engine, be it the M52, the N53, the N54, the N55, the M57, N57, B57. Anything with a turbocharger should be stuck to 5W30 purely because it's thin and it's enough protection for them engines with the turbocharger. Anything else you run the risk of destroying the turbos where the oil will not be at optimum temperature by the time you want to start flooring it. If you don't have an oil pressure gauge on your car either, do not run any thick oil. The reason it's okay to run this in, for instance, M5s, M3s, Porsches, they have an oil temp gauge where you know when the oil's come up to temp. Otherwise, people would recommend not to run this oil even in M cars, purely because you don't know when it's up to temperature, the oil, and people will start freshening it before then doing major damage to the internals on the engine. The next one I get asked is about oil changes. Now, people are under this assumption that they can just change their oil at 10, 15,000 miles. And I get why. I'm not going to sit here and say, you know, they're wrong for doing that. No, they're not wrong. BMW was wrong for doing that. German manufacturers were wrong for doing that. Purely because they put that on their schedules inside the cars. Many of you guys know on the iDrive system, the engine oil service light doesn't flash until 10,000 miles. Now, people ain't don't know why BMW done that, but I do. BMW did that purely to be able to sell these cars as a low maintenance car. Because if people thought they had to service them every 5,000 miles, 4 to 5,000 miles for an oil change, which is the correct intervals to service these BMWs, every BMW, then nobody would buy the car. So what they've tried to do is make them look like low running, efficient cars. Longer service intervals, so you don't have to service them as much as the previous models. And therefore, they'll be able to sell them to customers, to lease companies, to companies, whatever they want to do, by having a longer service interval. You got to remember, these guys as rental cars, any of them, not this one in particular, but other BMW models, C60s, 3 Series, with a longer service life, it means a rental company don't have to lose their car for so long, every 4 to 5,000 miles. They get to keep it longer, be able to rent it out for longer, which means they make more money before the service is due. So that's what it was aimed at. It wasn't, people like us should know, you do not go 10,000 miles for an oil change, ever. And that's even on the diesels. Diesels should be even shorter. You should be changing oil every 3 to 5,000 miles, not every 4 to 5,000. Petrols can go a bit longer, but never to 10,000 miles. And diesels should be always shorter because how dirty the oil becomes and how broken down it gets because how cold diesels are anyway. They take a long time to come up to temperature and there's a lot of crap inside diesel. So they should be changed more regularly. But people don't understand that. People will leave them, and leave them, and then they wonder why their cars break down. Their cars run like crap and everything goes wrong. Now, the correct oil for the M52 is 5W40. I strongly believe in that, and it's purely because as these engines have aged, 5W30 is no longer good for these engines. It just doesn't do its job properly, which you expect because most of them are over 100K. 5W40 is the way to go. People have noticed a massive difference. Their oil has not dropped at all since changing between oil changes, and that's the way it should be. If you run 5W30, you are going to notice a significant oil consumption, which is to be expected because these engines run hot. Now 30 to 40 on the oil is also to do with the temperature. So you got to expect these run very hot. So a 30 weight oil is never going to be able to keep up with the heat of these N52, M53, M54 engines because they run very hot, again, for emissions purposes. So that's why 5W40 is more than enough. Now, a lot of people ask me, can they use 10W40? The reason they ask that is because 10W40 is actually cheaper than 5W40. But the simple answer is no, you can't use 10W40. Stick with 5W40. Running 10W40, 10W50, 10W60 even, which I'm telling you, people do use this in the M52 and it's wrong. If you are using that, get that out your engine because you're going to do major, major damage. And I guarantee if you check your next oil change, you're going to probably have copper or metal shavings in the oil purely because it's probably damaging your bearings and you don't even understand that. And a lot of people try and use this as well to quieten noises down. For instance, if an engine's ticking, any mechanic, any garage knows by using a thicker oil, it's going to quiet it down. It ain't going to at cold start because the oil is very thick. So to get it up to the lifters, to get it through the lifters, it's going to be loud. But when it comes to warming up, it will be quiet as all hell. And that's why people use this oil. Do not use this oil. And I'm really, really stressing that. Do not use this oil. BMWs are not race cars. They're not sport cars. They're nothing of the sort. This oil is for particular BMW engines like the M5, the M3s. And I believe BMW now have stopped using this on the later S55, S63s, and so on. They no longer use 10W60. I believe they've moved to something different. I believe it's 0W40 now they use, or 5W30 still on because they're all turbocharged. You're not going to find them using 10W60. It's too thick. It won't get through the turbos quick enough, which will destroy the turbos. So they will never use that on turbocharged cars. This is only good for naturally aspirated sport cars, higher revving engines. Not the M52, not your M54s, not your M54s, not none of them. Do not use this weight oil, please. Now I'm going to actually go ahead and show you what I mean on a service schedule inside the car. Why people seem to think it's fine to change their oil at 10,000 miles, and it's not their fault. It's what they see on the system. But the whole thing here is don't believe everything you see, believe what you read. And if you read anything and if you know anything about cars, you know you never change oil at 10,000 miles intervals. As I said, it's only because these engines run so hot and BMW seems to think because they're going to burn oil, By the time you're topping up new oil, you actually put in fresh oil, and that was BMW's philosophy. They said the same thing about the M5 on the V10s. Because they burn a quarter every 1,000 miles, the oil changes can go on for long periods. That's simply not the case. That's how rod bearing damage happened in the first place, from idiots believing that. And that's why I'm here to tell you, do not use this oil. I'm seeing too many people use it. This is not aimed at your normal cars. So if you guys can see here, you can now see on the iDrive, it actually shows 14,000 miles for an oil change. Now, I actually believe that's actually 15,000 miles. Okay, so it's even more than what I actually stated. That you do not believe. You will never change your oil in 14 or 15,000 miles, whatever it is that's on there. I'm going to be doing a video on how you can correct that and lower it. You don't need to keep it like that. You can sell it for 5,000 miles. So it dings to let you know to change your oil at 5,000 miles. I'll be showing you how to do that, because I know there's so many of you out there that seem to believe you must follow this schedule. And this is what it says on the car. And you only do it when it pops up. And there's a lot of people who don't care about cars, just take them to a garage and will wait until that comes on. Even the guy I actually bought the 6 Series from seemed to think that you had to wait for that to come on. And he told me he didn't service it for a whole 15,000 miles and only serviced it when I got it because the light didn't come on and he didn't have the light reset. That's why I went and changed the oil again, because I don't trust things like that. But I'm going to be doing a video showing you how to lower that, because that should never have been 14,000 miles. And I'll show you how to do that, and then you can do it on your cars and correct it, because this is the reason why people are destroying their engines and why their engines ain't lasting long enough the way they should. Now you've seen you do not use 10W60. Got all the oils here. You want to use a 5W30 for anything turbocharged, or you can actually use even a 0W40 or 0W30. Do not be using a 10W40 or a 5W40 for your turbocharged BMs, no matter if it's diesel or petrol. Do not do it. The next one you want to use is for M53s and M52s. You want to use 5W40. If it's naturally aspirated, even if it's an M54 and M52, use a 5W40. Do not use anything other than that. Now, I know there's going to be many people saying they're using other oils. I'm telling you, your engine is not going to last long. Believe me when I'm telling you, only use this on your naturally aspirated engines. Anything else, use a 5W30. Do not be a fool to use 10W60 or 10W50. They are not for your normal naturally aspirated engines at all and will cause major damage. So there you have it, guys. I've now gone over and explained to you regarding oil changes and which oil you should be using on your BMWs. As I said to you, BMW made a very, very big mistake by putting long service intervals, but I've also explained to you the reason why they did that. They weren't aiming it at normal people like ourselves. They were aiming this at companies, because that's who buys their cars, leases them, you know, and drives them around. It's companies, rental companies, businesses. That's what they were aiming at, because they wanted to be able to sell them by the load with a long service life, so the company doesn't have to be ever without the car so much. And that's what they were doing. If you see there, it shows 14,000 miles, but I actually believe it's more 15,000 on that clock. And I'm going to be showing you in a following video how to change that, because I know there's many of you guys still running around with it on there, and then you leave it. And I get it, even if it's at 15,000, you can leave it there as long as you're changing it every 5,000 miles. You got 3 times before you have to reset the service light, which is fine. But you want it to bing so it alerts you when the time is correct to change the oil, not when it believes you should change the oil, which is all a scam. That should never have been set to 15,000 miles ever. And I'm fully against that, no matter what anyone says. There is still some people out there that will believe by that and live by that, to change it at 15,000 miles, but then people shouldn't really own a BMW. But as we all know, there's many of you guys on this channel that does change the oil every 5,000 miles, uses the correct weight oil, but there's many that just do not and seem to think their car is something it isn't, which actually is laughable when you think about all they're doing is destroying their engines, and they wonder why they're rebuilding them all the time, because they're using the wrong weight oil. So thank you very much for watching, guys. It's BMW Dr. Dean here, and goodbye.